You know, his daddy was on our network last night. Go to our social media and check out how he broke down how he used to do the crossover. But it's all about Tim Hardaway Jr. right now. His last 3 road games, giving you 15 points per game, and you will see him tonight on TNT. Moments ago, we heard from his coach, Fizdale.
Coach, you have a great win up here 2 weeks ago. Boston's playing a little bit better since then. For your young group of people, the start of this game could be pretty critical. How do you communicate that tone?
Brace for impact, because they have pride and they want to show us that, you know, they're the better team, and I understand that. But this is good for our guys. You know, answer the bell, be able to take a punch, and hold your ground.
Coach Longview, the win against Milwaukee, what do you take away?
Confidence builder. You know, for these guys, every victory just kind of reassures them that what they're doing is actually working. And so I just look at it from that standpoint, and then we really analyze, even in our wins, the things we did wrong. And we kind of try to keep our eyes on what can make us a better team.
So you've had a veteran team like the Celtics have. They have a good mix of young guys too, but when they lay an egg the way they did, and you go back, if you were the coach, you go back, do you even have to say anything, or you just roll the tape?
You roll the tape a lot. And I know Brad, and he's an awesome coach. And, you know, these guys, like I said, they got pride. You know, they're trying to get it together where they get to playing, you know, high-level basketball. Ultimately, they are a contender once they put it together. And so I think that's their biggest thing, is that they're focused on. You know, obviously, we're a team on the schedule that they have to play, but knowing Brad, they're really focused on how do we get our game to the level it needs to be. And that's what we're all fighting for, you know, really, with our respective groups and where they're at.
What is it when you're studying the film? Is there anything that stands out to improve their game?
I don't know about it. I don't look at it from that. I'm looking at it like, oh, goodness. How do they improve? I'm looking at them like, look at who I have to deal with. So I'm much more looking at it from that perspective, and how in the world how I guard these guys, and how do we score against them, you know.
Dave, you're new to the situation with the Knicks, obviously, but do you feel the weight of, you know, the years they've been trying to get the rebuild in order?
I wouldn't say it's a weight. That was the part of it that made me want to be a part of it, is that because it hadn't been on track in a while. And, you know, the idea of taking the challenge of winning in New York, you know, that really, you know, drew me to them. And so I looked forward to that challenge, and I like the idea of it.
So, you see these two right here? We got plenty of meme team coming. Skeets, Taz, Trey, and Lee making an appearance on Game Time. The starters coming up.
It all starts with energy, and energy is followed by effort.
Of course, we welcome in the Hall of Famer, not only for his game, but always having the tightest fade whenever he steps in the room. The one and only Grant Hill joins us on Game Time. He'll be calling the game tonight. So G Hill, I have to start off with this. We've seen the Celtics last season, what they did. This season, they were all the talk, they were all the hype. Did they come in drinking too much of the Kool-Aid before the season started and you know, coming out to this slow start?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of expectations, and rightfully so. Last year, they had a fantastic season, got to the Eastern Conference Finals. But you're trying to incorporate now Kyrie Irving now being healthy, who wasn't a part of that run in the playoffs, and then Gordon Hayward as well, who didn't play all of last season. And some of the complementary players, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, who stepped up in the playoffs, now have different roles themselves. So it has taken them a minute, and obviously Brad Stevens has changed up the lineup. He's inserted Marcus Morris and Marcus Smart into the starting lineup. Gordon Hayward off the bench. He had 30 points the other night against Minnesota. So you kind of get the sense here in Boston and being close to the coaching staff that they're starting to turn the corner and starting to figure it out. And you kind of believe they will. There's too much talent on this team. There's great coaching. These guys are about winning. But it takes a minute to figure it out, particularly when you got young players in different roles coming off of last season.
Hall of Famer Grant Hill, my favorite,
my man,
my favorite Blue Devil.
My all-time favorite Tar Heel.
Oh, no question. I got a question for you. I'm gonna take off your owner hat and your analyst hat. I want you to put back on your player hat. So you're playing against the Boston Celtics. They got a plethora of small forwards that you have to go against. The Grant Hill of Young. Talking about that Detroit Piston Grant Hill. You probably won't worry about any of them. But which guy is going to give you the most thought? Is it going to be Tatum? Is it going to be Hayward? Or is it going to be Jaylen Brown?
Wow, that's a great question. I think they're all very different. And but Tatum is a guy to me that at least the player I was in the 90s, I think would give me problems because he's long and he can defend. And I was a slasher. I was somebody who would get to the rim and try to get into the paint. And he would use his length to keep me in front of him. And then on the offensive end, he's going to make you work. He's so skilled. He's fundamental. He can post off the dribble, off the bounce. So that's somebody who, obviously for a lot of reasons, I love his game. I love who he is and how he plays. But a guy who has length on defense would have given me some trouble. But I would have tested him. I would have made sure he could slide his feet from side to side. I would make sure, he could definitely do that. But that's the guy that I would look forward to competing against, but also respect and know that he would give me a lot of trouble.
Grant, we know your ankle and foot problems are very well documented throughout your career. Now, looking at Gordon Hayward, he seems to be coming into his own now. Of course, as an owner, Kenny already asked you to take off the owner cap. But if you're a player, what types of things would you say to him as a teammate to encourage him to maybe assist him in getting through some of the struggles he's had coming back? And how do you think he looks so far this season?
Well, I think having gone through that myself, it's a process. And for him, he missed all of last year, played in that first game in Cleveland. We all saw that horrifying injury. But it takes time. And you have to learn to mentally and emotionally get back, trust your body, trust that you're healthy. But the thing I would say is, look, don't be satisfied with where you are, but also don't be upset upset with where you are too. It's just a process. Commit to getting better every day. And if you can put together consecutive days, consecutive weeks, consecutive months of health, the basketball part will take care of itself. But to think you can just snap your finger after going through that injury, the mental, the emotional, the physical, all that's involved with recovering from an injury like that, and then come back, snap your fingers, and think you'll be back to where you were, that's not realistic. But he is starting to get his rhythm. We did meet with Brad Stevens, said they had a practice last week where he was the best Gordon Hayward they've seen all season. He then went and had 30 points against Minnesota off the bench. So there's a feeling that he's starting to get his rhythm, his timing, his confidence, his swag, as you young folks would say, Ro. And they're very encouraged and excited about that here in Boston.
Hey, I got another Grant Hill 90s question, because when you went to Orlando, when you signed as a free agent, you looked at the style of play that they had kind of created. And you're like, I'm the top free agent. Doc Rivers has created this style. You and Tracy McGrady went down there. Now, there's a plethora of teams that are vying to create a style of play to attract a guy like you back in those days. So now, Grant Hill, back in the 90s, about to get signed in. These are the teams with money, and they're creating a style of play. The Clippers, the Lakers, the Knicks, Brooklyn, and Sacramento. Now, these teams are trying to create a style of play to attract the Grant Hill. Where does Grant Hill go in the 90s?
Of those teams that you mentioned, I do like the Clippers. I like what they're doing. They have good pieces, but they don't have necessarily a superstar. So I'd be able to come in and play my game, my style. You have some veteran players who've been around, who've been in playoff games. You have some good young players who are starting to emerge. And I think that's a team that, okay, if I'm wearing my 90s hat, that I would say, we have a chance to contend. We have a chance to compete. I know Golden State's out there in the West. I know LeBron James is out there as well. But I think the complementary pieces are really, really good. And you need a superstar, I think, to take you to that next level.
There it is right there. Great answer by the Hall of Famer. Always taking us next level. Hey, Grant, thanks for joining us. We'll see you later on. Be good.
Hey, Ro, I just want to say this, Kenny, man. I had Ro at Duke this year. I've converted him. He is part of the brotherhood now. So I just want to let you know.
And it was so disgusting, Grant, only because the guy had never been to a basketball camp until I brought him over to Chapel Hill a year before. And then
Right.
we give him all of this information on how to run basketball camps, and he takes it over to Duke. Yeah, that is the ultimate betrayal in all of history of sports.
Well, Kenny, I'll just say this, Kenny. I was, as you know, Carolina fan of yours. And at 16, I saw the light, and I converted. And so did Roe. He saw the light this summer, too. So
God.
it's not too late for you,
If
Kenny.
God wasn't a Tar Heel, it wouldn't be Carolina Blue. This guy would not be Carolina Blue.
Grant, thanks so much. It's all about the brotherhood. Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
This is awesome. Gotta love the Tobacco Road Talk. Have a good one, Grant. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Eastern Conference, we'll go back to pro basketball. You see the Raptors have the best record in the NBA. The Bucks, 76ers, the Celtics are a little bit behind those teams, but these are the contending teams that everybody expected to compete in the Eastern Conference and go compete against the Western Conference. So, Jet, we're looking at all these teams. Right now, out of the 4 teams on the screen, number one, who has the best chance to advance to the finals and win the finals?
Still mad at you
Bruh.
going to camp. But and I'm mad at, you know what I'm mad at? Nolan Smith, the assistant coach at Duke. I brought him over to Chapel Hill for 2 years to be at my camp, and then all of a sudden he goes to Duke University. Now he's assistant coach there. I'm mad at him.
Shouts out to Nolan Smith, who got me a custom jersey.
Whatever.
Did y'all give me a custom jersey in North Carolina?
Anyway, we don't need custom. You got to work for it. The question about the Eastern Conference. Toronto Raptors and the Milwaukee Bucks, to me, separate themselves because of this. When you watch them play every night, you know what to expect. And I'm not sure if I could say that about any other team in the Eastern Conference, 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. Even though some of them are having great records, and the Boston Celtics have a great track record from last year. But when I watch tonight against the Knicks, I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen and who's going to do it. I'm not 100% sure.
So when you say you know what to expect, you're saying both of these teams have clear identities.
And stability. Stability and structure bring success no matter what the crisis might be.
So
these guys have stability and success. Stability and structure, which creates a success even in a crisis. When things aren't going well and things are, you know what to go to. And that's what I really like about watching those 2 teams, because every night I'm pretty sure what I'm going to get.
The Sixers are 8-3 since acquiring Jimmy Butler. You talked about you know what to expect with Milwaukee and the Raptors. What about the 76ers?
I'm not sure yet.
Why not?
I'm still not sure. They have a lot of talent, but I'm not sure what I'm getting. I'm not sure what I'm getting from Ben Simmons. I'm not 100% sure what I'm getting from Butler and when and where. J.J. Redick is starting to find his stride. Everyone's finding their stride. I'm not saying that they won't find it. They're finding it. Where those 2 teams have found it, kind of live in it, they're comfortable who they are. The guys on the team defensively understand and are comfortable in their defensive assignments. They're comfortable in their offensive roles. So that's why they know who they are.
Is there anything that could prevent them from advancing, winning a series in the postseason? What are the main glaring weak spots for the 76ers?
For the 76ers, it's just inconsistency, and inconsistency in outside shooting, because there comes a point where you're going to have to knock down consistently from the perimeter. And is Butler and Redick enough in the key moments to knock down shots? Because Redick is a guy that you can run off the three-point line, but Jimmy Butler at times you can't, because he can go by you. So are they enough? That would be it. Talent, Redick, Butler, Embiid, go on and on, Simmons, talent. But do you know what you're getting every night? No. I wouldn't say you do.
Well, we always know what we'll get with you. Thanks, Jeff, for joining us. By the way, you mentioned the Raptors and Milwaukee Bucks. That will be on our network right here on NBA TV if you want to watch on Sunday. Pretty big game.
Oh, that's a very big game.
Very big game indeed. Of course, we're continuing on Game Time. We keep it moving. There you see Marcus Smart. There was a 500 team when he was coming off the bench, but they haven't lost. Never lost. Started. There he is. You'll see him tonight on TNT, 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. Jet, appreciate you.
Yo, man, row your boat segment coming up next time. We need a graphic for that.
It's coming.